For many writers, one of their biggest problems is that they can't seem to generate enough story ideas. But not you. Oh no, not you. You feel like you have too many story ideas, right? Which can be a gift and a curse, because when you have all these story ideas floating around and pulling your brain in different directions, how do you decide which one to settle down with and live with for 3 months while you turn it into a novel or a script? Over the next few minutes, I'm going to give you 6 strategies that will help you zero in on one story idea, then see it through to the end. So in this video, you'll learn how to stress test your many story ideas in terms of story, plot, character, brand, and a mystery element that will delve deep into your soul. So to kick this off, let me show you how I go about shepherding my many story ideas. I'm very much a paper and pen man when it comes to planning and plotting and scheming. So what I do is I get a big sketch pad, has to be blank for me. I draw a bubble in the middle of it and write the premise or the central idea or just the simple idea I've had to start with. And then from that bubble, I draw arrows to other bubbles with related ideas that lead on from the central premise bubble. I tend to find that these bubbles multiply if the story idea really has legs. So when you end up with a sketchpad page full of bubbles and arrows and you find yourself very much needing a whole new page, that's a great sign that this story has legs. Basically, it shows you that this story is fertile ground. You're making lots of connections, lots of ideas are coming from other ideas, and the whole thing feels like it's flowing. So for instance, if I have 2 story ideas that are competing with each other, I'll see which sketchpad page is full of the most bubbles. I suppose what I just described to you is a form of brainstorming, and the second strategy is a variation on that theme. In this version, you simply open up your favorite word processor document and type and type and type, just thinking about everything, free-flowing associations, every idea that could possibly spring from your initial idea. You write it down into this document and you just see how far it goes and where that process takes you. So once again, you can use this method to find out which of your ideas feels like it's got the most fertile ground. Strategy number 3 is for writers who are primarily character driven. So it could be that when we talk about story ideas, in the case of these particular writers, maybe including you, we're actually talking about character ideas. So in this case, you'll want to write down as many details about the character as possible. One useful way that you might want to build up a character is to ask them a load of questions and write your answers as the character. I found that to be a really useful tactic because it kind of forces you to go inside the writer's head, which you don't normally do that easily until you're right up against the coalface writing the first draft. And so it's nice to do this kind of work in advance as much as you can, especially if you are a character-driven writer. I have a very handy character worksheet available that I made myself. It's called 101 Questions to Ask Your Fictional Characters. Now, members of my school community, the Fantasia Writing Lounge, can unlock this worksheet for free when they reach a certain level on the leaderboards of the community. School has this really fun gamification element whereby every time someone hits like on one of your comments or your posts, you score 1 point. And as you score more points, you rise up the leaderboard, thereby reaching levels 1 to 9. And along the way, you can unlock certain resources and assets that the community owner has planted there for you to gain access to. So if you'd like to get this character Q&A worksheet, then join my school community. And obviously I would advise you to do so anyway, because it's only 1 month old and already has lots of lovely people supporting each other, celebrating wins, commiserating woes. You need to be there, trust me. Link in video description. Incidentally, if you're not a community type of person, or you're quite an impatient person who can't be dealing with climbing leaderboards to unlock what they want, you can actually buy this character Q&A worksheet from my store at Patreon. Once again, link in video description. So what is strategy number 4 for narrowing down your story ideas into one winner? Sometimes when we have what feels like a story idea, they are really just one isolated idea, and they're not necessarily a story. So it's good to pick up each of your story ideas, look at it from different angles, rattle it around, and make sure that you can think of a great beginning, middle, and end for each of them. I know that the Pantser writing mob are yelling at their screens as we speak, but I think it just makes sense to make sure that you can feel that this can be a story. Beginning, middle, and end. I mean, that's your basic stuff. You might have an idea for a premise, but do you have any idea of how it will end? It doesn't have to be an incredibly specific ending, although of course if it comes to you, then great. But fundamentally what I'm saying is separate your your isolated notions from ideas that actually can become a full story skeleton. And here's another filtering process for your story ideas, which happens to be strategy number 5. I don't know about you, but I have a real habit of coming up with perfectly good, strong, viable story ideas that I have no interest in writing because it's not my kind of thing. It's quite weird, that, isn't it? I don't know why that happens. Does that happen to you? Let me know in comments, by the way, and I also want to hear how much trouble you have with your story ideas and which of the strategies I'm talking about in this video feel like they might be the best remedy for you. But yeah, just because you have a great story idea, is it something for you? Does it actually fit your brand? And even if you don't feel like you have a brand as an author yet, maybe because you're just starting out, is this story something that you'd like to be known for? Is this story something that you want to spend a lot of time with? If not, and you've had a great idea for like a cozy mystery novel, but you've got no interest in a career as a cozy mystery author, just forget about it and do something that you really feel passionate about, which leads us on to number 6. It's the one to do with delving deep into your soul. Now, for this stage, I want you to turn off your phone. Obviously, not yet if you're watching this on your phone, for God's sake. But turn off your phone, or at the very least, switch off those notifications and hide the phone under a cushion or something like that. And then set aside half an hour, ideally 2 hours to actually think about this. Because one thing we really don't do often enough these days in this age of distraction is think. Really think about these ideas and think about how excited or otherwise you feel about each one. Which one creates the most heat in your chest? Which one makes you feel almost impatient and giddy and absolutely raring to go on it? If you actually set aside some time to think about this and really think about what you want to write and what excites you about each of these story ideas that you could do, then the winner will hopefully make themselves evident. Just make sure, as I said at the beginning, that you love this idea enough to live with it for months on end. And then to revise it several times again when it sells to a publisher or to a production company. Once you've finally settled on your killer story idea, though, that doesn't count for much if you then feel like you're suffering from writer's block. So watch this video right here in which I helpfully explain that writer's block actually doesn't exist and give you 5 strategies for dealing with what might be your real problem. Thanks for watching, and write like hell.